Hello to everybody who watched Wicked and did not fall asleep during the movie. So not hello to me because I watched it last night and the movie started at like 11:30 p.m. and I fell asleep towards the end. Like there's no reason why a movie needs to be over an hour and a half, max like 2 hours if you're really pushing it. Like the first 2 hours of it, I'm like this could have been 30 minutes in my opinion. But then again, I make podcasts, not movies. So what do I know? Anyway, hello to everyone, not just the people who watch the movie. I am your host, Nikki. This is the baddest bitch in the building. If you're new here, this is a podcast where we talk about how to milk everything in the world, okay, minus cows. So we're talking about the patriarchy. We're talking about anything where we have no control over the cards that were dealt. So we figure out a way to take advantage of them. And we're doing this through what I call a feminine twist on the 48 Laws of Power. So if you've read the book, The 48 Laws of Power, and you liked it, it's because it's a really good book, but it's really masculine. And so I decided to do a little girly twist on it. And here we are. So welcome. So today's law that we're talking about is law number 6. To succeed at anything, you must be emotionally detached. And I don't do these laws in order, so they're not like in order of importance or whatever. But if I could redo this and put one law at number 1 and say this is the most important one, it would be this one. So first things first, let me explain what emotional detachment is in case you're not familiar with it. So detachment is the art of experiencing your emotions without letting them control you. Not to say that you need to be like a psychopath and have no emotional connection with anyone, but it's that element of control that you have over your emotions. I think that's the key to detachment. It's mastery over your emotions. So, ladies, what we've been told about emotions as women is a load of baloney. Women are not emotional, okay? Are more emotional than men, blah, 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 blah. We're hardwired to be highly emotionally intelligent, and the parts of our brain that process emotion, that store emotional memories, also the parts of our brain that read emotion on other people's faces and process those emotions are all bigger than those parts in male brains. So we're hardwired to definitely be highly emotionally intelligent, to be able to process the emotions that other people are feeling around us, to process our own emotions, and to understand how to act on them. But everything besides your children, if you choose to have any, are things that we are not hardwired to be emotionally attached to. The only exception is if you literally are raising a child. That is it. Everything else in your life has no reason for you to be emotionally attached to them. That is a learned behavior. That is something that's been programmed into us to make us weak, to make us fail, to make us subservient to men. Because emotions are what we feel in the moment. And when you act on them, you're being short sighted. You're acting on something you feel right now that you're not going to feel maybe in 10 minutes from now or in 1 week from now. So our emotions lead us to short sighted decision making, and they cause us to act on what we feel in the moment rather than what we'll feel in the future once the dust has settled. And I hear stuff all the time of like, oh, he's the love of my life. I've poured everything into our relationship. Oh, this job means so much to me. I've worked so hard to help this company. Blah, blah, blah. Detach, detach, detach. You do not commit to any cause but yourself. Okay? The more emotion that you attach to people and things, the greater the pain you're risking when you eventually lose that person or that relationship or that item. Like when you are emotionally attached to something, like your boyfriend or your job, you become deaf and blind. You become desperate. And then when you feel that thing or that person slipping out of your hand, which it eventually will, you're going to try holding on to it even tighter. But when we hold on to something too tightly, we're eventually going to crush it. And we're going to hurt ourselves in the process. It's like crushing a piece of glass in our hand, which is a very gory analogy, but that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. You're going to hurt yourself, and it's not going to benefit anybody, especially not you. So ask yourself this: can I lose this person or this thing? Can this be taken away from me? If the answer is yes, which it probably is, then you should probably be emotionally detached from that situation, because whatever you can lose, you will lose eventually. Whatever relationship, whatever item, whatever job, anything that you have is temporary. You are eventually going to lose it. You know that as a certainty. So when you go into these things and these relationships being emotionally attached to them, you are doing this willingly, knowing that you're eventually going to lose it. And then you're going to be crushed. So you know better. You know better. Now that you're consciously aware of this, you know better. Nothing is forever. The only thing forever in your world is you. Okay? Everything and everyone else is temporary. And I know there are exceptions to this, like family, if you have a good relationship with your family, your pets, obviously. I'm not talking about those things specifically, but apply this law to the parts of your life that you think you need to apply it to. Honestly, I don't know what relationships you have in your life, so you listen to what I say and then apply it accordingly based on how you experience your relationships and the things in your life. And listen, being emotionally attached makes you weak. It makes you easy to manipulate because you're guided by the fear of losing that thing or that person you're attached to. And it becomes really obvious to people when you're emotionally attached to them, or you're emotionally attached to something like your job, right? It's very obvious to your boss, for example, when you're emotionally attached to your job. And so as soon as you become emotionally attached, that's it. You've lost. It's game over. You have lost. Because to truly get what you want out of life and to be able to take advantage of the things you cannot change, you can't let your emotions be the leading force in your decision making. You can't let the fear of losing that person or that relationship or that item, you can't let that fear be the guiding factor in your decision making. So in this episode, we're going to talk about why detachment is one of the biggest keys to success in all aspect of your life: dating, career, friendships, literally anything. And we're also going to talk about why being emotionally attached is probably holding you back in all these areas. And obviously, we're going to talk about how to be emotionally detached and how to sort of rewire ourselves to unlearn those behaviors that make us emotionally attached to things. And I promise you, it is so much easier than you would expect. It's not like some 12-week detox boot camp or whatever. It's literally just like one switch that you have to flip on in your brain, and that's it. Like, I promise you, it's not hard, okay? So let's get into an example. And the example I want to use is on dating. I think this is a really good way to demonstrate why women get emotionally attached and why it makes us lose in every single case. So, something that I was wondering before I got into this whole like mindset of being detached is, why is it that in dating, it's almost always the woman who gets hurt? Like when you hear stories from your friends, it's always or almost always them saying, how they got hurt or how somebody they know got hurt. And it's always the woman. And I think the main reason in like 99% of cases is that women are the ones who get hurt in dating because they're the ones who get emotionally attached to the person they're dating. And this is literally the dumbest thing that you can do. It really is. So, you start talking to someone, you start dating them, you develop feelings toward them, and then, you start getting emotionally attached to this man. You want to see him more often. You give up your hobbies and your free time, and you don't see your friends as often so that you can go and spend time with him. Meanwhile, he just wants to sleep with you first and then decide if he wants to keep you around. So he's going in with this goal of, how quick can I get this woman in bed? While you're like, oh, hey girl, I can't hang out today. I'm going to go see him. Or you're like, okay, you know what? Today I'm not going to go to the gym so I can go hang out with him. You're spending the whole day thinking about him. You're getting emotionally attached. You're developing feelings. So like, you see this dichotomy? He went into that relationship or that dating situationship, whatever, with a goal. He went with a goal because men are goal oriented. That's how they are able to get their way so often. They went into this wanting sex first. And, maybe they do want a relationship. They actually want to find a partner, a wife. But first, they're like, sex. And that's their goal. You go into it as a woman wanting an emotional connection, wanting to fall in love and wanting to like be swept off your feet. Da, da, da. You went into it blindly with no goal other than finding a partner, with no goal other than wanting to get into your feelings and like falling in love with somebody. And that is not love. That is stupidity, and that is a lack of regulation over your emotions. The only thing you can expect from men is disappointment. Everything else is a bonus. So when women go into dating with no set goal in their mind other than finding a man, that's not the goal, okay? That is like obviously the end goal of what dating is, but that's not your actual goal. What do you want out of this man? Women don't think about that a lot of the time, whereas men do. If you were to ask a man, what do you want out of this woman? First and foremost, he would say sex. Okay, so he had a goal and he's going to go and pursue that. He's not going to get emotionally attached to you because he's trying to pursue a goal. He has his eyes on the prize. So, as women, why can't we do the same thing? If a man can do it, so can we. Right? If they can do it, so can we. And when you get emotionally attached in dating, that is a guaranteed way of getting hurt. It is, because a lot of the time when men get what they want, they finally get to sleep with you, then they're like, okay, goal accomplished, on to the next. Especially if you got emotionally attached to them and you become, more clingy, more needy. That's a huge turnoff to them. So they might still want to sleep with you because why not? And then afterwards they're like, oh, she's really clingy, she's really needy, she doesn't give me any space. I've slept with her already, so I'm good. I'm gonna go on to the next. And now you're hurt. And you invested emotions into this man, and God forbid you invested other things like money, and then you're done. It's game over. You have been used and you've been hurt. And so you know better now. But that is my that is my example for today. Right? Like, I am sorry. If my ring finger is bare, then you haven't earned the right for me to become emotionally attached to you in any way. That's it. That is it. And this finger is bare. So guess what? No man is getting an emotional attachment from me at all. Point blank, period. That's it. So, like I promised, we're going to talk about how to get emotionally detached or how to stop being emotionally attached. And I just touched on that in the example, which is you set a goal for yourself and then you let yourself be led by that goal, not by your emotions. So you enter every situation knowing what you want out of it, and that becomes your compass that keeps you going in the right direction. That's what men are doing. So that's what we should be doing as well. I promise you, once you get attached to meeting your goal, you're going to win. I promise you, you are going to win. And if you don't win, then at least you came out of that situation not having to say, oh, I gave them everything, or after everything I gave him, this is what happened to me, blah, 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 blah. You gave nothing. Okay? So you didn't lose. So even if you don't win, you still don't lose, if that makes sense. Because when you are not guided by a goal, your emotions are going to take over. Your emotions are going to take over, and then you're going to be guided by an expectation. And when you go into any situation with expectations, you are almost always 99% of the time going to be let down. And women get emotionally attached because they're guided by these expectations. Women get into relationships, they get into jobs expecting it to turn out a certain way for us, Oh, I'm going to go date this man because he's going to love me and he's going to give me the affection that I want. Or I'm going to start this job and I'm going to prove myself so eventually they'll promote me. Nonsense like that. And when you go into these situations with expectations, you're going to get let down because now you are putting faith in other people. You are relinquishing control of a situation and you're putting that control in somebody else's hands. So instead, you have to go into every situation thinking of what you can get out of it. And if you think that's selfish, that's because it is. And if that makes you uneasy or it makes you uncomfortable, then you need to ask yourself why putting yourself first makes you uncomfortable. So you probably have a little bit of reprogramming to do because we are also told as women that we can't put ourselves first, that it's selfish, that it's wrong if we put ourselves first, which is garbage. That's a narrative that's meant to control us. So we need to get rid of that stupid mentality that's going to hold us back and start thinking of ways that we can actually be selfish. Because let me tell you, it is the selfish people who get the furthest in life and the ones who get what they want 100% of the time. The reality is that we live in a cutthroat world that was not meant for women to succeed. So no one is going to watch out for you or save you aside from yourself. If you don't have your own best interests at heart and you're not thinking of yourself first, no one else is. It's either you or it's no one. So let it be you. So, like I said earlier, being emotionally attached makes you weak and easy to manipulate because you're guided by the fear of losing the thing or the person you're attached to. And people can easily take advantage of you because they know you'll give yourself up for them. They understand that you are emotionally attached and they're going to see how far they can push you because people will push you as far as you let them. So we have to approach things like a man who is approaching a woman trying to get laid. Because at the end of the day, in this world, you have to be as cutthroat as the people you're up against. And that's not to say that, you're up against men and men are the enemy or whatever, but if they're goal oriented and not getting emotionally attached, then we can do the same. If men can do it, so can we. And let me put something into perspective for you. For most women, if your emotions were money, you would be cheated and bankrupt. If your emotions were money, you would be broke or in debt because when you get emotionally attached, you keep giving more and more and more until you are depleted. You go into, a relationship and you give your all to somebody. Like, if your friend asked you to lend them some money, would you empty your savings account for them? No. So why would you give your all to anybody? Doesn't make sense. Think about that. And that's how women end up feeling betrayed and sad and hurt and leaving relationships empty handed and worse off than where they started. So you have to manage your emotions like you manage your money. And if you're financially irresponsible, then don't think about it that way. But you need to manage your emotions the way a financially responsible person would manage their money. Put it like that. You cannot give anyone your all. You can't. And I see this all the time, like someone working themselves like a dog to prove themselves to their boss so that they see that they deserve a promotion, right? And they work themselves to the point of getting burnt out, and then that promotion never comes because the boss is like, "Oh, your quality of work is slipping." Or you'll give things up to keep a man happy. You'll give too much of yourself to get a man to stay with you. Ew. And you just go out of your way to deplete yourself more and more and more to prove things to people, to hold, like, to get things to stay in your life and to hold on to them. But like I said, when you hold on to anything too tightly, you're going to crush it. And people know. They know when you're emotionally attached because it's obvious when you lose your backbone. It's so obvious. And then they'll start doing less because they know that you won't leave on your own accord. They know that you are there out of a fear of losing what you are holding onto so tightly, right? So you don't give your all to anybody ever. You have to leave something for yourself. You better believe that I'm not giving 100% of myself to anyone except my cats, and they're not even getting 100%. Because at the end of the day, you can only give your all. You can only give 100% to one person, and that better be you. People have to earn access to your emotions. And if someone wants to gain access to your emotions, they have to unlock the platinum level. Okay. And most people are barely going to be at bronze. You have to think about it as you are the prize. And why are you out here chasing things and people? Those things should be chasing you. So let's talk about reversal of this law. And I think this is a rare example of a law that doesn't really have a reversal. But let me just say this. You don't want to take this law too far and be emotionally detached from the point of harming other people, right? So basically, just don't be a psychopath. And keep in mind that being emotionally detached doesn't mean feeling nothing towards things and people that you care about. It just means that you don't emotionally attach yourself and cling on to anything and give anything or anyone your all, because that leaves us with nothing. And when I talk about being emotionally detached from people, this is more so directed towards people who are not bound to you as family. So don't go emotionally like detaching yourself from your relationship with your parents or your siblings or whatever. But obviously the exception to that is if you have a strained or toxic relationship with your family, then that is a different story, and being detached can help you as a way of protecting yourself. But you want to be a person who feels things and feels emotions and gives love when it's deserved and when it's earned. But regardless, you don't give anybody your all, ever. There's no exception to that. You do not give anybody your all. So if there's one thing to take away from this episode, it is to replace emotions and expectations with goals. You have to be goal oriented. Being emotionally attached just makes you weak and easy to manipulate, right? Because that fear of losing the thing you're holding on to, it's that fear that's guiding you and guiding your decisions and your behaviors. And the more emotion you attach to people or things, the greater the pain you are risking when you eventually lose that person or lose that thing. So when you act based on emotion, you're being short-sighted and you're doing it at the expense of a future version of yourself. It's a form of instant gratification. So before you go head over heels into any situation, ask yourself, can this person be taken away from me? And if the answer is yes, which will be, then you should probably be emotionally detached from that situation, right? With some of the exceptions like that I talked about a second ago. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I hope that you're able to take something away from this. As always, if you have any thoughts, any feedback, any questions, you know where to reach me. My socials are in the show notes. You can also drop a comment on Spotify or on YouTube. And if you like this episode, you can follow, subscribe, like, whatever, based on what platform you're listening to this. Yes, because when you engage with the podcast, it signals to the algorithm that you like it, and then it pushes it out to other people so other baddies can find this and level up their mindset. So do that if you want, but just don't forget that you are the baddest bitch in any building you step foot in. Okay? Just don't forget that. You can forget everything else. All right, guys, until next time, stay bad. Love you. Bye.